Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a giant barbarian build in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a bard mixed with a barbarian. We go with the sword bard, and I got a way to utilize the spell slots while we're raging, because typically you can't cast spells, but I got a way around that. We'll be starting with the giant barbarian here, and for our ability score, we do need some charisma, so it actually makes for a good face of the party. So if you want to cast some spells before going into your rage, we can work with a stat spread like this. You can also go all in on strength, dexterity, and constitution. It is nice to have some charisma because we can also add in the paladin for 2 levels to get divine smites, but you can alternatively take points out of charisma and put them into like your strength and dexterity. I'd like to get strength and constitution, or dexterity and constitution as high as possible. You can also drink strength potions or use the dexterity gauntlets, so you can dump those points and put them into charisma if you so please. For example, to get the highest armor class as a barbarian, you're going to dump your constitution, use the constitution amulet. So that's the stat spread I'll be using, as we can get a little bit more charisma. It is perfectly valid to build around dexterity, constitution, and strength though. Level 2, we get ourselves a reckless attack and danger sense to get advantage in dexterity saving throws against trap spells and surfaces, so you can get a little bit better success on preventing getting hit by fireball. As well, get yourself the action ability to turn an attack miss into a hit, potentially. And level 3 gets us a giant barbarian. The berserker is really nice, but we're going to do the giant barbarian so we can turn large and in charge with our giant's rage, which will make us large and double the damage on throw attacks. So you could go potentially into throwing if you wanted to. And we also get the thaumaturgy cantrip there. And for our level 4 feat, this would be best to improve our dexterity or constitution if you didn't use the constitution amulet, or strength, depending on what stat you want to build around. We're going to go dexterity here for this version of it, but you can also go in on your strength and get that up to 18. Into level 4 or 5 here, we can go with the extra attack. I would recommend doing it this way if you're not going to respec, but if you're in the later game, this is nice because it gives you the extra attack. The big thing though is we can go and add in the bard now, and if we're at a higher level, this is actually pretty good. I'd recommend having mage hand because mage hand will throw health potions for you, and also minor illusion is good to pull enemies aggro, but vicious mockery is hilarious, so we're going to take that. As for the spell selection that we'll be going with, it's good to have Thunderwave for the pushback. Long Strider because you can cast that outside of combat. Thunderwave is just if you get in an advantageous position and knock someone off of ledge. Long Strider, you can do it before combat. Same with Cure Wounds, you could take that or even Featherfall, but I think that's nice to have Healing Word potentially. If you're not in your rage, you can comment it, or you can bring up a downed ally. And then also Dissonant Whispers can be good, or Fairy Fire. So yeah, we're not going to be casting spells, we're actually going to be using our spell slots to power our divine smites. Song of Rest at level 2, and we get to take another spell here, so I mean Speak of Animals even if you wanted to. There's a lot of potions, but we can just roll with that. Level 3, College of Swords. This gives our slashing flourish, which we can use to hit 2 targets at once, and we can also divine smite on them. It's pretty crazy. And we can also use arrow attacks on 2 targets as well if we wanted to. We get access to level 2 spells. Again, we're not going to be using these typically, so you could go with like invisibility. I like hold monster or hold person quite a bit, but we can only say that at next level. Invisibility is good because we can use this for a bit more stealthy play styles. And for our fighting style, I think dueling is probably the best choice here because we can use a weapon and a shield. But if you want an offhand weapon, go with the 2-weapon fighting. That also works really well too because there is some pretty powerful weapons that we can use. So I guess we'll take that there. But if you want a shield, go with the others. At level 4, we get ourselves another cantrip. So this is when we can take minor illusion for our spell. Hold person even though we're not going to use it. And for the feat, we can go with an increase to our dexterity. This is going to give us the best armor class possible for survivability's sake. You could also add in Tavern Brawler there if you wanted to throw a bit more, but Divine Smite just so good on our slashing flourishes. Into level 5, this gives us another choice in spell. Glyph of Warding is nice because we can set this up outside of combat. Same as Plant Growth because we can use both of these spells without even using our rage, so those would be the ones we'd want to prioritize. And at level 6, Counter Charm, but the extra attack now finally. Previously, you could have got that level 5 Barbarian, but this gives us the extra attack and Slashing Flourish. And we'll take Plant Growth there, just nice crowd control. And level 7, this is when we're going to add in the Paladin. And we can go with a new Oath of the Crown, giving us the Righteous Clarity to add a proficiency bonus to attack rolls. So if you wanted to take like a Great Weapon Master, you could potentially do that as well. Oath of Vengeance is good too, but I think the Oath of the Crown just works best here. And level 2, Divine Smite, reaction, damage, crazy. And we get ourselves a fighting style. Since we're not wearing armor, defense won't actually apply. So you can go with, if you wanted, I guess there's no real choice here because great weapon fighting is, we're not going to use a two-handed weapon, but if you really wanted to, you could. And then for our prepared spells, we have command, even though we're not going to be using that quite ever. And the smites, we actually can't use these smites while in our rage because they count as spells, whereas Divine Smite does not. So, I mean, take what you want here. So for gear, we can actually get a pretty crazy armor class of 29 there. That's using the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. So this gives you health when you succeed on a saving throw, but also the greater Kashigo counter. It allows us to do a attack, kind of like a riposte. An attacker that misses us with an attack, we can hit back, and we get a +2 to armor class. Now early game, go with the best available robes or any type of light armor, because the Barbarian will just add the Constitution modifier to their armor class. Even the robe of the weave can work here well, or any other clothing based options that you got, as those are going to give you that benefit of Constitution modifier and dexterity. I also like the bracers of defense, so you get a +2 to armor class as long as you're not wearing armor or holding a shield. You can get this early on in the game. It's in Act 1, so that's a really good one. Later on, the Heldis gloves for the additional damage is nice. We already got basically the 2-weapon fighting there, so we don't need that, but I think that even going with just like the bracer defense is solid. It gives us a good survivability alongside the evasive shoes for a +1 armor class. The horns of Berserker gives us additional 2 necrotic damage on our attacks, so that's nice. We're always going to be attacking, so yeah. And I also got the cloak of protection, but you can use the Deathstalker mantle if you want to min-max. Emulate a greater health, as I mentioned. This just makes it so that we get our highest possible armor class. We got our 10 base armor class, +5 from dexterity, +6 from constitution, 1 from the ring of protection, 1 from a cloak protection, 1 from evasive shoes, 2 from the vest of soul rejuvenation, 1 from the blade of the first blood, or Arden's dagger, and 2 from become the bulwark, coming from the bracer defense. Killer Sweetheart, ring of protection, just best armor class and survivability, but you can go with Crusher's ring even, or ring of regeneration. And I also went with the best daggers in the game, but if we were going a little bit earlier on in the game, you can go with any of the daggers that got extra damage, like the Mind Sundering dagger. Even Fowler Alluve can be a good weapon too. It's a longsword, so you can go with that. I like to have a Dolor Amaris in the offhand for that additional 7 critical hit damage, which is really nice. Even the Cold Snap can be nice because you can chill targets for your sorcerer. So that's pretty good too, and it gives you a +1 armor class. But with the Blade of the First Blood and Crimson Mischief there, you get a lot of extra damage. So those work very nicely. So putting this all together, what this will look like in combat. One thing too with this is we want to go to our reactions tab as well and make sure that we have our divine smite set to reactions, so that whenever we do our attacks with our slashing flourish, we can get the divine smite on 2 targets instead of 1, which is very nice. What's nice is we can always set up plant growth before we even get into combat, since it's not going to aggro anyone. If you know there's going to be a fight coming, you can just set that up. And then you can also set up a glyph of warding too, which is kind of nice because both of these will you'll be able to cast them and just kind of let them sit there, and while we're in our rage they may end up picking up some extra damage. So boom, couple little spots there. So now that we're into combat, anytime that you see a group of enemies like this, what we want to do, I guess first things first, is to get into our rage. So this will obviously disable a lot of our spells, but once we're in our rage we get our nice bonuses, and we're also large. So now we're going to use our slashing flourishes here, and the nice thing about the slashing flourish is we can divine smite 2 targets at once. So boom, you can hit a critical hit off on both of them. Pretty good. Yeah, 50 divine smite damage is crazy. So yes, this will burn through spell slots pretty quickly, but it's worth it. And yeah, ideally we could get multiple targets at once, but even so, we can just use a normal attack there, and it's going to hit pretty hard. Yeah, the divine smite damage is just nuts. So yeah, just going around stabbing people. You can also just use your slashing flourish to hit multiple targets at once if you wanted to. We'll likely take out this target with a divine smite. Boom, perfect. And then to finish off, we'll go with you can also use a strength potion, use a throwing weapon with the tavern brawler as I mentioned, or the titan string bow works really well here. You can also go with the defensive flourish to give yourself an increased armor class by 4. We have 31 with haste, so that would take it up to 35, which makes us pretty much unhittable. But I just think that a slashing flourish is probably one of the best choices, so we can go ahead and hit 2 targets there. It's kind of nice. And then apply fairy fire since we got the Hellrider longbow on. So that's a pretty good turn. Sometimes plant growth makes the enemy think really hard on their next action, and you get like kind of stuck in something like that, and they skip their turn. I don't know why that happens, but it does. And that's the best part, is our glyphs can sometimes just blow up and take people out. And since we took out a civilian, we got an extra few guards come after us. And it's our turn again. Now I see a really great opportunity here, because whenever you see a slashing flourish potential, you want to take that. That's kind of the thing with a bard paladin. The divine smite on reaction, being able to add extra damage on this attack, is just crazy, as you can see there. Absolutely devastating. So yeah, we didn't get enough to take them both out here, but we can always go with another slashing flourish, but a bow one. That's not the greatest chances of hitting, but yeah, you can still see we can take out one of them there. And Yeah, we do have to get up close to do any type of damage, so we'll just go ahead here. And it's also going to use, oh, we got mine broken. I went too close to there. It's going to use your highest spell slot levels first to be able to use for the divine smite, so just be mindful of that. I know the blood we spilled there, unfortunately, the plant growth. But we'll chase him down with another divine smite, and that'll hopefully finish this target off. That's perfect. And then we can find an angle on the final target. That's just right there. Perfect. So we don't have any bardic inspiration left, so we just have to do our regular old bow shots, which is fine because we're pretty strong, especially if you were to use the if you went and use the Titan string bow alongside a strength potion. That can be pretty effective. And we can also use any type of items, like invisibility works while we're raging, which is kind of funny, so you can get invisible. Great. The nice thing with invisible, he had no idea where we're at, and then we can just follow it up with a divine smite or anything that has advantage, so boom, that's going to finish him off. There we go. So yeah, the giant barbarian mixed with the paladin and the bard, the giant barbarian. Really fun, great utilization of the spell slots, and I hope you had fun with this build. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. Have yourself a great day, and see you in the next one.